Hi everybody, happy Saturday. An interesting little thing keeps happening with this topic that I want to talk about is that I come on here to do the live and then I have a scroll through my feed and it completely robs me of the clarity of what I actually want to say, and then I don't end up doing it. So I wanted to do this live, I wanted to talk about this topic Tuesday. So it's now Saturday. I wanted to talk about it on Tuesday. I grabbed my iPad, I came onto Instagram, I started scrolling, and before I knew it, all the clarity that I had of what I wanted to talk about was gone. So I think that in itself, hi Loz, hi everyone. So I think that in itself is like, it's almost what I want to talk about. And it was actually really confronting to see how much this space can take away our clarity, how much it can like take our ideas, take away our mental clarity, take our whole mind space, and we lose ourselves. You lose yourself in this, right? So if you don't use it really mindfully, you can lose yourself. But then I've gone to kind of do it another few times and I go from being really clear on what I want to say to not. So I've never let that stop me in the past. I mean, I've done YouTube lives with like one word in mind before I get on. So let's see what comes. But I think this is a really important topic and it extends from what I've been talking a lot about lately, which is discernment. Discernment, discernment, discernment. It's everything. It will be everything moving forward. And let's add on self-responsibility. So here's what I am seeing. Let's say, so just kind of imagine that the experience that we're going through, that we're all kind of collectively going through, is like waking up in a deep, deep forest and having realized we were asleep. And as we kind of wake up and realize that we've been asleep, we're in somewhere we kind of don't really want to be, we've been having an experience that's all, you know, a whatever level of kind of being aware to that and awake to that you are. What happens in that process is like a homing beacon kind of gets turned on, right? There's a part of you that starts to become like this homing beacon and you start to get drawn to wanting to go home. You start to get drawn to wanting to be in alignment, to being more authentic, to being more of yourself, right? And so you start to head in that direction. Between where you are, where you currently find yourself, and that home. Now that home can be, we can think of it as a physical space, we can think of it as an energetic space, we can think of it as an emotional space, we can think of it as a mental space, right? Or all of that. As you start to move towards your home space, different things are going to come up in that forest, in this life experience that we're having. And this is the part that I want to talk about because this is the part that I'm seeing. I see people wake up and I see them start to move, and then what happens? They encounter other people and then they think, I have to wake you up. I have to now tell you. I have to tell you that you're in this forest and you're far away from where you should be, and we're all far away from where we should be, and come on, it's time to come home. And they start wanting to save other people. They might pick someone up that's in a deep, deep, deep sleep and go and shake them and go, come on, it's time to go. And each time, if you're doing that in whatever way you have in this time tried to save people, in whatever way you are still trying to save people, whether you're trying to warn them, whether you're telling them about the narratives, the agendas, whatever you're telling them about, I want you to start to recognize and start to take responsibility that each time you do that, you are keeping yourself from moving to that home space. You are keeping yourself still. Other things will stop you too. actually agendas, right? So agendas narratives get released as an agenda, and they are intentionally placed before you to stop you from actually finding your way, like making your way kind of to the exits. Start to become aware that where you spend your energy, where you spend your focus, all the things that you talk about, the things that you get stuck in, whether you're attacking them, whether you think I need to make other people aware of this. This is you. When you kind of get caught up, it's like a net and you're caught in it, and then you're like spinning in a circle. And every time you do that, you are not moving forward. Now, some of these things are intentionally, like you've placed them there to work on your own triggers, right? Maybe your own karmic things, your own life experiences mean that some things will trigger you. And you can spend a bit of time spinning, but the aim of the game is to stop that spinning as quickly as possible and to keep moving forward. Some other things have been placed intentionally to keep you, to hook you, to snare you, to net you, to stop you from moving forward. This is the part that I want you to understand. So, if you are in a state of awareness, in a state of awakening, where you're kind of like coming out of a slumber in the middle of a forest, and you've got some homing beacon that is turned on and it's calling you. It's calling you energetically, it's calling you maybe physically, it's calling you to be more authentically you, to be in alignment, right? You're kind of like shifting, kind of almost like your compass setting, and you're like a homing beacon, you're being called to that place. And as you navigate your way through, there are things that trigger you. There are things that net you. There are things that catch you. Sometimes it's you yourself. Sometimes you will stop because you've stumbled upon somebody and you decide, I need to save them. The wake up is now and I need to save them. And then you kind of try and drag these people along, and it keeps you stuck and it keeps you caught. When you do this, you can end up in timelines that you would not necessarily have to be in, because you have decided until everybody gets saved, you cannot move forward, or until your kids, your brother, your sister, whoever gets saved, you cannot move forward. Other things that will kind of like trip us up or kind of like catch us in like a net are all of the things that you will see on the news, that you will see in social media. The transgender conversation, the Black Lives Matter, all of that. Every single one of the narratives has an aspect to it that needs to be looked at, that needs to be talked about, and that is valid. But this is what they do. They take this narrative, they take this topic that is very valid and they hijack it, and then they go, here it is, and we're left caught arguing about it or attacking it or going, I have to share it to people, right? I want to ask you, are you finding yourself doing this? Because these are the things that will stop you from this homing beacon, which if you let it be, it will guide you and lead you so beautifully, which is why discernment is so important, because you have to discern your own journey. You have to discern your own advice, your own mapping system, your own blueprint has to be discerned by you. Nobody else can tell you what your, what was I calling it the other day? What do you have when you go on a flight, on a trip? Can't think of the word right now. What do you have? Your itinerary. No one can tell you what your itinerary is. Everybody has a different homing beacon. Everybody has a different itinerary. Everybody has a different journey. It's specific to you. Yes, collectively we have one together, but collectively we actually get there when we each individually regard our own. So the less you get trapped, the less you get caught, and the more directly you make your way to the exits, each person that starts to do that is modeling very powerfully. Energetically, they actually raise the vibration of the whole. And once you get to the exits, once you're actually out of that dense forest and you're clear on your mission, then you actually become like a beacon for the people that are still lost. While you're making your way to the exits, rather than picking up people that are completely soundly asleep in a coma and trying to drag them up and shaking them and going, come on, you have to come along, you actually are far more powerful when you kind of directly guide yourself to that exit point. And then once there's enough of us there, we become like, so imagine if you are caught in a really deep, like dense forest and you have no idea which way's out. Like it's like a maze. But let's say at night, you kind of see this glow. And that glow helps you to find your own kind of, you can navigate by that glow. That glow is all of us that have actually found the exits, found our way out, and no longer are getting caught in the traps and the snares. Does this make sense? My mind is getting the best shake up ever from this today. Thank you. Beautiful. So there's something very powerful in this message. And I know that that's why every time I come on Instagram, I'm like robbed of the clarity of this message, because it's like, I want you to know how much of this is intentional. There's so much intentionally thrown into that forest for us to fight over and yell at and scream at and whatever and fight it. And while we do that, we are literally running in circles. So I want you to ask yourself today, are you in forward motion? Are you, firstly, remember the difference between aware and awake. Are you awake? So are you aware of what's going on, but able to stay in your power? Right? Which is awake, which is the difference between aware. Because when you're aware, you still forget your power. So you attack a lot of things. You think that you have to save other people. You think you're like the superhero of the world. Your power lies in your own wake up, your own recognition that you are lost in a sense, that you have been asleep, that you have been unaware, that you are kind of in a deep, dense, I'm using forest. I love forests, nothing against forests, it's just an analogy. But you could change it to the energetics and say, I've been lost in deep, dense energetics and I have forgotten about the light. And as you start to wake up, if you use discernment, if you allow peace and quiet, if you take yourself off places like this and go into nature, and allow yourself time to just receive your guidance, your own discernment, which is key. Your own discernment is what is going to get your own blueprint activated, your own itinerary activated, your own guidance system activated. If you really focus on that, it will activate you. It's like your homing device will activate and you will be led to more and more a sense of home, meaning more and more authenticity, more and more of yourself, more of the things that feel right, the things that lead you to the things that have you in your power. Being really mindful not to get ensnared and trapped in the nets that are along the way, right? Some of them are intentional. So many of the things that are thrown into the mix daily are intentionally designed purely to keep you in a spin, purely to keep you from actually moving directly towards your home, right? So the more you attack them, so be mindful of this, be conscious of this in your day-to-day life. Okay, there's a balance between sharing some things and getting caught. There is a balance between an awareness and feeling like I have to stay here and attack this. I see so many people that are aware, and this is, you'll really see the difference between aware and awake by how much they feel they have to attack the thing. It's almost like if I don't kill it, slam it, smash it, and bury it 10 feet under the ground, I can't move forward. And that's simply not true. And in fact, the more of us that just walk around it and go, there's that, good-o, and just keep walking towards our own sense of home, we become that homing beacon for others. We add strength to that, and we add the energetics of that. And so then at night, this is the example I used before, if you think of a deep dark forest, and at night if people are lost in it, they see this glowing light, they can start moving towards that. And that is how you help people. Now, if someone actually comes up to you and says, hey, can you help me? Well, for sure, feel into that, and for sure if they're asking you questions. But here's the other thing. Be mindful of the people that want you to lead them. Be mindful of the people that say, hey, can I hold on to your coat while you kind of like climb the mountain? No. Okay, you can open people up to things. You can provide some things for people. You can have conversations. You can like inspire and you can enlighten them. But if they don't start to take that over themselves, they're actually draining you. They're actually wanting you to carry them out of that forest. And that is not good for anybody. So yeah, so it's interesting that every time I've gone to talk about this, it hasn't kind of eventuated. And I'd say there's a lot of power in this. So I would love to know if any of you, having a think about it in that way, are recognizing what nets you've been caught in lately, right? What's been ensnaring you, just in your day-to-day conversations or even on social media, like what gets you hooked, and start to become aware. Because here's the thing. So ego then says, so are we meant to just ignore things? It's not about ignoring them. I've spoken about this before. I'm going to remind you in case you didn't hear me talk about it that time. So how do you know what to respond to? Because I used to be somebody that used to think, well, aren't I meant to make myself aware of everything? From the starving children in Africa to the thing and the thing and the thing and the thing. Aren't I meant to know like what people are going through? And isn't that my role here as a fellow human? And it was just put so profoundly by Matt Kahn that just freed me from that, like for the rest of my days. He said, if something is yours to do something about, you will encounter it. It will be in your life. It will show up. It will present itself. And if that's what's happening, then yes, it is your job, your role, your purpose possibly in life to do something about that. Either to educate, to raise awareness, to help, to lend a hand, to energetically, whatever. If it's not, then no, it's not your thing to do something about. It's someone else's thing to do something about. So this isn't about just shutting down and going, right, I'm just waking up out of the forest and I'm just making a beeline to the exit and I'm just happy to climb over the bodies of whoever I need to get there. It's not about that. If you're doing this thing consciously, if you're tuned in, switched on, if you're activating your blueprint, if you're using your intuition, if your homing beacon is switched on, if you're using discernment, there is no way you are going to shut your eyes to human suffering. There is no way that you are going to ignore something that is in front of you and just step over it, right? That's what your ego would do. This is not what you will do, because you will be aware and awake, and you will be focusing on what your role is as you make your way to the exits, right? And as you actually become more and more authentically yourself, you're actually going to have more and more light come through you. You're actually going to help more and more people. People will be drawn to that for sure, right? It's about being conscious of the balance of, I'm going to share this, but what's my intention? I'm going to read this, I'm going to watch this, what's the energetics? Is it reminding me of my power? Am I reminding people of their power? Am I sharing this as an awareness, or am I saying, here, I'm going to throw this in and we can all attack it, right? That will be the difference. Energetics is often the thing that you can focus on rather than the actual narrative or topic. Often it's the energetics that will really be the determiner of whether something, whether you want to lend your energy to something. I find myself knowing less about what's going on. Brilliant. This is a very, very powerful sign that you are waking up. It's brilliant. Compared to last year when I was in the thick of everything, now being like, that doesn't sit right with me. Brilliant. Yes, and I agree, and I know exactly, I know that feeling too. So much last year, things would come at me and I could divide into yep, no, right? I could separate the whites from the colors for the wash really easily, right? Really easy. Yep. And now these days, there's just a ton of gray, and I'm like, But here's what's brilliant and fabulous about that. The less you know, the more that you actually can see you're not in your ego. Because ego knows. Ego always knows. Okay? And I'm not saying not knowing for you. I bet you actually know more and more for you, but you know less and less about out there. I have been having this experience where there are 2 oak trees in our driveway, and I sit here and I look at those 2 oak trees. I have done that since we've moved into this house. They're magnificent. Or in all the different seasons, they are magnificent. More and more, the trees that I see down our driveway don't look real. They look tiny. They look like I could walk up to them and just pick them out. They look odd. They look strange. More and more, I can look at things in nature and I can think, something's not right here. So there's less and less that I know about out there, but there's more and more that I know for me. The clarity in here is next level. And that is my right mind. That is my wiser self. Clarity out there, that's ego. That's ego going, oh, yep, that's a good person, that's a bad person, that's a thing, that's real, no, that's false, that's fake, that's false flag, that's psyop, that's whatever. Ego has to know that because it has to decide what category. Ego can only live in categories, and so it very quickly. So the fact that you know less and less about what's going on, brilliant, because it means you're really opening your mind, and then the more you can feel clarity is not the right word. The more you can feel powerful and focused and kind of on track in that environment, the more you know you've gone beyond your ego. Because ego does not like not knowing what's going on. Because ego has been given the role to keep us safe, to stop us from dying, and remember, it doesn't just see dying as physical death, it also sees embarrassment, rejection, ridicule, anything like that as a death. So it tries to keep us from all of that, tries to keep us from change, tries to keep us from anything that's unstable, anything that it can't immediately say to you, this is what this means, this is how you need to act, this is how these people are going to act. Ego will always want to do that. When something is completely new, this is why things can't change until we do, right? When something is a completely new frontier, so when you're waking up in that deep, dense forest and you're looking around going, I have no fucking idea what's going on, that is the most extraordinarily wonderful position to be in. because that is the moment when your life can literally, your mind and your whole entire experience can literally burst open on a level like never before. Because the ego will not allow things to be different to the past. You can see people that are not awake at this time because they're looking for the times when it's been like this. We've all done this with you know, the Second War, things like that, different things like that. There's certain words I'm not going to use, they will trigger this video and it will get completely shadow banned. But we all know we've looked for the similarities. The Matrix relies on that because when we can see the similarities, we will create it again. We will reactivate that pattern. That timeline comes into play again. Because now we're saying, I know what this means, this is what this means, so this is what's going to happen. All of our egos collectively will create just patterns and patterns and patterns. They do it in our own lives. Our own ego keeps us stuck in patterns. Collectively, our collective ego, our kind of, we have a collective ego, will keep us in patterns too. And the more we can step out of that and go, I do not know what this is. I have no fucking idea. I have absolutely no fucking idea what is going on, and I don't need to. And how wonderful. Because when I have no fucking idea what is going on, then I get to decide what this means. I get to just keep on walking to the exit. Just keep on walking to the exit signs. Just keep walking to the exit signs. And all the potholes and all the nets and everything I encounter as I walk there, I just go, oh, look at that. And walking around that. Don't need to get caught in that. Don't need to get caught in that. And then you're determining your own timelines. You are literally on your own timeline. Does that make sense? Yes, it all feels grey. So what are you getting caught in? And with this reminder, where do you feel you're at? Do you feel like can any of you relate with that homing beacon being turned on? Are you getting a sense of like there's a yearning, there's a call? It might be energetic. Oh, great loss. It might be energetic. It might be to a physical place. It might be to a state of being that you're being called to, and it is getting harder and harder. A friend said to me the other day, she said, so she's been spending a lot of time in Queensland and less time. So she just lives in Melbourne, more and more time in Queensland, less time in Melbourne. Comes to Melbourne, gets sick. She said, I think I'm allergic to Melbourne. And I mean, you know, yes, she was joking. We had a laugh about it, but there's truth in that. You are going to start to feel like it's harder and harder to go against yourself. You will become physically ill, or you will just have such a rejection and such a push away from what doesn't feel right. There will just be such clear signs from the outside, but also internally about what doesn't feel right, because that discernment and that pull to that place that you need to, honestly, there's no getting out, there's no exits at all. Okay, cool. So, you know, this pull to like where I'm going to, this pull to being authentic, this pull to being who you are and following your blueprint is just going to become louder and louder. And you can see that the narratives, you can see that like getting on here and getting caught in that scroll when it like robs you of that clarity, it's kind of to stop you from moving to the exits and just to go, just sit down. Hey Jane, just sit down, stay another couple of years, stay another couple of decades, stay another few lifetimes. Help like keep this matrix going with your energy. Just come and sit down. And they will pull you into that, whether you're attacking something, whether you're fighting something, whether you're rejecting something, whether you're feeling like, hello, whether you're feeling like I have to let you know this, I have to save these people, I have to schlep them along, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't care what snares you, because at that point you're running in circles. And when you're running in circles, You are not following that calling. You know, and all of the narratives, like the trans thing is a real thing at the moment. You know, you just see everybody sharing all this stuff, and it's like, I don't feel called to making sure people know about this agenda. Again, if it was in front of me, if I was encountering it, yeah, great. I know about the agenda, so, you know, do I need to get caught in it? Do I need to attack it? Do I need to make 15 TikTok videos on it? Do I need to share, you know, 3 things every day about it? I don't know. It's a balance for sure. Some of you will feel called more to some things than to others. Some of you will go, no, it is my job to do that. Okay, great. Then honor that. But yes, be aware that there are purpose pitfalls to keep you swirling so that you're not moving. I hope that's helpful today. I don't know how long I've been on. I don't want to make it too long. Is there any questions, any comments, anything you want to say, anything that this has been, like, has this been helpful? What's it helped remind you of? What are you going to take away from this? And if you've just joined, I will be saving it. Please go back and watch it. I know Instagram's being it. And not letting us like press pause and things in lives. But you know, if you're committed to it, great, beautiful, watch it back. It's lovely to have you all here. Happy Saturday. I hope you've enjoyed the sunshine. And I hope this has been helpful, because we don't need to do anything, but let's be that collective that gets to that aspect and starts beaming and being that glow in the dark, so that the folks that are just kind of starting to come out of their slumber now, and they're like, you know, and I think that's going to get harder and harder as the show goes on, as the shit show gets more and more clown-like and crazy. Like, I just feel like a lot of us have had like a beautiful, like, that pause and that slow opportunity to kind of just go, what the fuck is going on? And I think from now, people are really going to have to do it on the fly. So be that beacon. Follow your path and be that beacon and help people to at least be able to navigate, okay, right, there's a thing there. You know, I can start to make my journey. All right, pleasure, Loz. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're all well. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions, I get the urge to make posts to share what's going on, but then I wait 5 minutes and change my mind. I don't feel like it's my job anymore. You know what? The other thing is, it could be your time to make your video. You could be time to share your own message. It could be that you put your own slant on it. You put your own thoughts to something. It could be that the way things are being shared don't resonate with you, and so you want to do your own. Maybe it's time to do that, you know, because if you get the urge, if the urge is there, listen to it and then maybe ask, okay, why don't I do my own? Why don't I share my own thoughts? Whether that's a post, whether that's a written post, whether that's a video, whatever that looks like. Maybe there's something in that too. Maybe it's time to find your own voice. So that might be a thing. All right. Okay, everybody. Yeah, look, who knows? I mean, it might not be, and it might be. It might, you could be right. It could be like the trigger, and like, well, I'm not going to share in the trigger, so I wait 5 minutes. But if that urge to kind of, I don't know, sit with it and see what happens. All right, everybody. Discernment and responsibility. If you're not moving forward, if you think like, I have to wait, can't move forward yet because the government haven't done this and that hasn't done that and that and that, and I don't know what's coming, That's on you. That's on you. However you're stuck, that's on you. That's you not moving yourself forward, and you're busy swirling instead of actually making your way to the exits. All right, everyone. Much love.